Good evening and welcome to our June 17th workshop. We've just returned from a brief dinner recess. At this time, I'd like to call the workshop to order with a roll call of school committee. Michelle Kirkby here.
Diana Frischella here.
Will Horn here.
Sophia Victus here.
And we are very excited to welcome Steve Callahan and Bob Sliney here with us tonight. We've asked them to come speak with us a little bit about town finances, FY27 and beyond. For anybody listening or watching, if you've taken time with the warrant committee or listened to any of their meetings or read their comprehensive letter that was in the warrant, you'll know that we are going to be experiencing potentially some upcoming financial challenges that could result in an override as costs increase and state aid is not keeping up with keeping pace with wage inflation and cost increases. So if we did have an override, that would be in addition to the Dale Street School. So this opportunity was to gain a little bit of a better understanding around some of the challenges in that space. In prep for this meeting and a conversation with Diana and Dr. Marsden, some of the things we shared with Steve were that we wanted to better understand the financial policies and forecasting, kind of how they've evolved over the past few years, and just a guide that protects the town's financial outlook. Revenue opportunities and challenges. Are there revenue opportunities being explored? What are the current opportunities, challenges, and conversations that are underway? Debt coming off of the books. What debt is coming off in the near term? What does the timeline look like? And how might that align with capital needs? Roofs, I'm gonna say roofs for our capital needs. And then school fees was something that Will had asked to be on here specifically, so we can have an exploratory discussion on school fees and kind of get an understanding of how that fits into the broader financial picture. So I personally recognize that any sort of we could do a deep dive on any number of warrant committee topics, and it could probably take us like a very long time to do such, but we are going to try to keep this high level, conversational, roughly an hour. And Steve, you prepared some slides, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Michelle. I should introduce Bob is here with me, our fellow co-chair. And so thanks for inviting us, obviously, tonight. I think, as we pointed out in our letter in the town warrant, the town's got a lot of challenges, and the more we talk about them as a shared amongst between committees and just the dialogue around it, the better off we are, because none of them can be solved with just one committee.
Yeah.
We're a group of 9 volunteers appointed by the moderator, and we are not elected. We are advisory in nature. So we have sort of 2 roles. We play a finance role for the town, advisory, and that's by state statute. And then the other role is we provide recommendations to town meeting on all matters that come before town meeting. So it's really good that you're having us here. The more we can talk about, we have a unique view into the finances of the town.
Right.
And so the more we can educate and talk about the challenges that we have, the better off we all are.
Right.
Because they don't go away. So
Yeah.
it's tough to solve. So thanks for inviting us. I guess the next slide. So these are, I think you covered, these are the topics that you gave us to talk about. And I'll just go through them, one at a time. I've got some background information, and maybe we'd like to keep this conversational. And so fire off questions if you have them. If you want to know about something, happy to talk about it if I can, if I know the answer. There are some things that, we don't have answers to, but we're happy to talk about challenges and stuff like that. So the first one is the financial policies. And I think, we undertook, Bob and I, along with the finance team in the town government, we undertook a year ago a policy of a task of updating our financial policies and objectives. And for the longest time, we as a committee had been, adopting practices, but as you know, committees come and go, and practices, unless they're written down, don't become policies, right? So So we thought it was important to commit to writing, all these best practices that we had implemented over the last 3 or 4 years. It hadn't been done since 2018. And so it really touches on a lot of different areas of the town. It touches on, obviously, our operating budget, right? That's the most important thing. But people forget there's all these other things that the policies address. They're like our capital assets, all of the process that we go through to look at capital needs and approve capital needs each year. There's a capital budgeting committee. There's a whole process around that. We have to come up with money for one of those funds, the capital stabilization fund, the non-building one. And then we have long-term liabilities. We have OPEB, which is the health insurance for retirees. It's our largest liability. I think it's over $30 million. And we have to fund that. You have to come up with free cash to do that every year. We also have the pension liability. And then, making sure we have the right service levels across all the departments. And then balancing all that with having the right reserve levels. And we have a number of stabilization accounts that are some are rainy day funds, others are special purpose for unique needs. One of them you're probably familiar with is the special education one that was set up a couple years ago. And we have to look at all that relative to, I would say the policies have a bias or sort of a priority to not having overrides. We try to avoid those as a committee. We know the town doesn't like those, so we try to do everything we can to avoid those as we prepare the budgets. But as you can imagine, with a framework of limiting those increases to 2.5%, and the state not giving us more than like 2 or 3% every year, and we have health insurance increasing at 17. It's sort of a tough model to balance, right? So anyway, that's those are
Maybe a comment, it's just that, if maybe to keep it informal, conversation, I think what you just mentioned, do people understand, the concept on this 2.5% and how that does limit us in terms of what we can do? If there's a need to have a conversation on that, but I think, to Steve's point, this process that has been implemented over the last couple of years, and Jeff knows this with Mike, we focused on what our parameters are from a revenue perspective. We in prior years, there's a little bit of free-for-all in the sense that we said, we'll come back with your budget, we'll see how we can pair it into some reality. And what happens is we get a wish list. And what we tried to do is start with what revenue is available to us. And from that point, working through some of the points that Steve mentioned, we have a known need to fund the pension. We have a known need to fund the open. So we start whittling that down. So but getting back to this point, the 2.5% statutory limitation. Is that understood by all? Are there questions on that from your perspective? Because
there is a slide later on
Okay.
that walks through some numbers if people want to see how the numbers work. That's always helpful. I know to me anyway. but-
I could use a quick,
Yeah, I was gonna say, go
Yeah.
ahead.
yes, I
Go
feel
ahead.
like that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a slide later on that. will
Okay,
help
that will
with
talk about
yeah.
it, great. I
Um,
saw that.
Yeah. So we talked about the budget, the 2.5, that's a key principle. It's a priority for the warrant committee. And then free cash, we spend a lot of time looking at how free cash is used. Our policies basically limit that to one-time type needs. It's so we use it for to put money into stabilization funds or reserve accounts or capital type items, okay? And, you know, a number of years ago, and a lot of towns have gotten into a bad habit of using free cash to balance the budget. It creates a real challenge. It solves a problem year one, but in year two, you sort of have to deal with this problem that was there in year one, right?
So we always did that here. Like,
Yeah.
that was always a practice here until
Yeah.
you guys, you know, relooked at that.
Yeah.
At that formula and that policy, but, do you think that the limit that we have with free cash use right now, we're not using it for operational, do you think that's gonna lead to an override quicker than if we did use free cash to offset operating?
I think that, I would answer that this way, you know, I always liken it to sort of, a mortgage example, right? Let's just say that you're a family, you have, you come to the point where you realize that in order to make your mortgage payment, you know, every month you have to dip into savings. And that's, and right then, that's an emergency, right?
Sure,
If you
yep.
dip it into savings, so. And you don't want to wait until the savings runs out, before you make a choice to lower your standard of living, or go raise some revenue, get another job, or
Right,
second
right,
job or something.
right.
So it's sort of, you know, I always, you know, like to put it in the terms of a mortgage payment, because the problem doesn't go away. And free cash is one of these things that's very, it changes year to year. It's basically the difference between what you estimated your budget and what your actual budget comes in at. And it can change drastically, you know, year to year. We've been lucky only because interest rates have stayed fairly high. So we're conservative when we budget interest income, but
Yeah.
we've gotten.
I know the certified number that we've had in town here has been a lot higher than it ever has been. Like, the
Yes,
policy is working in that regard, for sure. There's no doubt
yeah,
about
I think that, it's allowed us to do, you know, a lot of these capital
Mhm.
needs and to build, you'll see later on, to build up those stabilization funds and to save money for, a tax mitigation fund for a school.
Right.
So it's being put to those types.
Let me ask you a
The
different.
problem is, like, if you use it, let's say you take $1 million
Yeah.
and use it to balance the budget.
Right,
And, you know, you go out and either you hire, or you leave in place, you know, 6 people,
mhm,
or you hire another 6 people, whatever. The second year, if you don't have that million, you gotta fire them all.
Yeah.
Or reduce the headcount. And we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to create budgets that are financially sustainable, is the term we use. That are supported by the revenue projections every year, so, it's, you know, as long as as long as I'm on the committee, I don't see us, you know, I mean, the free cash is there for one-time type needs or a real emergency, you know, like if something,
right,
we have stabilization funds to deal with, like, if there was a recession or downturn or COVID or something bad happened, we have stabilization funds that we could use to keep services level, right? So we don't have to do those mass layoffs like we did a few years ago, or, you know, so.
and they play an important part in the bond rating, right, so we want to
And,
keep that
yeah,
high
yeah.
when we borrow money.
And the rating agency do look at, you know,
Yeah.
did you use free cash to balance the budget,
Right.
or, you know?
Right.
So that's free cash, you know, so we talked about making sure our expenditures are covered by revenues and not non-recurring sources. And then, on the capital budget appropriations, for buildings, there's, you know, it's just by way of background, in 2018, the town approved an override of $1 million that was dedicated to building maintenance or building improvements, or, you know, building a new building, $1 million a year. So it's built into our levy every year. It goes up by 2.5%, but it's $1 million of additional revenue dedicated just to maintaining our buildings. It's not enough to deal with what's in the 20-year capital plan. We knew it at the time, and it's not enough. The town just completed a 20-year capital plan, they updated it. And there is $100 million over 20 years of improvements that have to be made to our buildings.
And that doesn't include the Dale Street.
And that
School,
does
right?
not include Dale Street or the FAF Center.
Okay.
So Dale and FAF are not in that number.
Hmm.
And so there's 37 million identified as priority one. Which means it should be addressed in the next 2 years. And those are mostly school related. That doesn't include Dale or FAF. And the majority of that, like I said, is for the school, but of that, 19 of it is for roofs for our schools. And so, Blake, I think, it was like estimated at like 5.5 million just along the Blake. So, it's a, it's a concern, that we have to deal with, so. Next slide. So you'll see these are reserves. I talked a little bit about, we do this is really important to our rating agencies. When we do get around, if we do get around to doing the school bond, they will look at this and, you can see that the dark blue is the general stabilization fund. We have some policies on, that should, where that should be. We want to have all these reserves between 8% and 10%. Okay, right now they're at 9, right in the middle. So they're at a good level. There's 3 of them here. One's the general stabilization fund, one is free cash, and then the warrant committee reserve, which is for unexpected type. It's a small reserve for unexpected expenditures on the town side. Next slide.
So with that, when I
Oh,
look
yeah,
at that,
actually.
the free cash is free cash. That's not free cash that is in a specific stabilization fund, right? I wasn't
That's right.
sure.
That
Okay.
is.
I wasn't sure.
That's correct. That's free cash. It's unspent free cash.
Okay.
So every year, I think it's like 2.8 million or something, the unspent piece of it.
Yeah,
So we spend at least that every year, a couple $1 million of free cash, we spend every year. But we try to we have a policy to keep it at 3%, 3% of expenditures.
yeah.
So, it was at 2.5, we raised it to 3%, and that's sort of the level that, it's at right now. So, and, the stabilization fund is at like 5, and so the combination of all that gets you to like 9%.
9%.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But these reserves are there for when there's like an emergency. There's a recession, the state cuts back on state aid, COVID happens, whatever, that kind of stuff. We can draw on these to sort of keep services level for a period of time, before raising taxes, right? So.
And these are all this, I wasn't clear if like some of this stuff was rolled up in the other, but now it makes sense. Like this is all the specific stuff.
Yeah, this is all, now there's another set of stabilization funds. It's like the next slide, I'm gonna go to the next slide.
Do any of
Oh,
those,
this is it, sorry.
So this is
yeah.
the one, I wasn't sure if some of this like rolled up into the, I just want to make sure.
So this,
it was
yeah,
clear
this,
that-
these are separate, these are what we call special purpose
Right,
stabilization
right.
funds. And reserves. So these, think of these as, they can only be used for a special purpose.
Right,
There's money that's been set aside and dedicated for a certain purpose. The biggest one there is the pension reserve fund. 30 years ago, our administrator put some money in an account because he knew we had a big pension liability, and it grew over time. And we're now starting to draw down on that. But the problem is that every year we offset the assessment from the Norfolk County pension with this reserve. But they've just extended the date for that it was gonna be fully funded by 2029.
You guys think?
Now they've pushed it out, so we don't know the exact date. We know it's gonna get pushed out, and that's gonna put pressure on how much we could take out of this reserve.
And are these specialized funds, are they counted towards our credit rating at all or evaluated? in some
I
way?
would say they're considered.
Okay.
That previous slide is the more important one,
Okay,
because it's not limited as to purpose, right?
right,
But they do look at this as like relief valves for the operating budget, right?
Okay.
For like, especially this pension thing, they understand how these work, and they will, they'll consider it as, obviously the more money that's in these, the better.
Right.
And so and then the school tax mitigation fund is in there. That last two town meetings, we approved 900,000 in each meeting. And there's another 450 from some land sales at the Hinkley South property that got sold. So that's, hopefully by the time we have to borrow money, the goal is to have this at like $5 million. That's the goal. It's about 2.3 now.
And that 900,000 came from free cash, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, 1.8 came from free cash the last 2 years. Yeah.
hey Leo.
And so,
Yeah,
hello, Leo. Yeah, and so those are the special purpose stabilization funds. Now, we talk about property tax revenue, because this is, you guys want to understand how 2.5 works and all that stuff, so our property taxes, there's sort of two big buckets of where our revenue comes from. One is the levy, the 2.5 levy, the property taxes that are subject to the 2.5 limitation. And then the other is revenue that's approved at a special town meeting as an override. In other words, we've said as a town, we're gonna raise this revenue outside of the 2.5 limitation. And it's always been exempt fund debt offerings. So you'll see, we have about $1.9 million in the 2026. That goes straight to paying off debt. So that we raise it in the tax levy, and then it goes to pay off the debt. The property tax one is the sole funding revenue source for our operating budget, okay? So the sum of both of those equal our total property tax levy of 57.9 million. Now you'll notice that the general fund exempt debt exclusion, you'll notice, number one, that the property tax subject to 2.5 is going up by 3.2%. And I'll explain that in a minute. You say, well, how can it go up by 3.2 if it's limited to 2.5? And the answer is it's able to go up because of growth. They allow you to factor in some growth for new development. But the taxes were going down because we paid off some debt. That tax levy outside of 2.5, the exempt fund debt exclusions, that's a temporary tax, and every time you pay it off, it goes down. So it went down 20% last year. And we did not reinvest that in new capital projects. Okay, so
That debt that's coming off, which project is that?
I forget which one it was. It might be no, this is general fund. It might be the DPW garage. Yeah, because I think that the big one that's still on is the public safety
Right.
building. Yeah. But I think, so that, I don't know for sure, but I think that's the case. And then, so overall, the property taxes are going up by 2.2% because we have the debt is going down, and that's a temporary tax. So the next slide, if you could go to that, this is how 2.5 works. So on the previous slide, that first bucket was the 56 million, right? So it basically, you just take last year's levy, which is 53,088, the amount that's circled in red there. And you start with that, you add 2.5% to it, and then you're allowed to budget for a new growth, which is basically a new, somebody builds a new home or there's new construction.
New bathroom.
Yeah. And so, and then you add to that this municipal building stabilization fund, which is that $1 million. It goes up by 2.5% every year. We talked about, that's dedicated to just buildings. So our levy limit within 2.5 is $56 million. And that's how 2.5 works. It's so now we do have other revenue sources, right? So the next slide talks about some of those. So that 50, you see that the first 3 or 4 lines is the property tax revenue that we just went through, the 2.2% increase, $1.2 million. And then we have state aid. There's about $9 million in the budget for that. That went up by 2.7%. We have local receipts. These are things like excise taxes, interest income, transfer station stickers, meals tax, things like that. And that's a pretty healthy increase. It went up $400,000, but that's because it's every 2 years, or 2 years, I think it is, the transfer station stickers,
Yes.
get renewed, so people pay that. And then we have some other available funds, and then we have some general fund, enterprise fund offset. This is the water and sewer debt that technically is in the budget of the town, and they reimburse us for it, so it's kind of an offset. It just goes, it's in and out. So that's, the revenue went up 2.5%. That's kind of how that works. $74 million. And what we do is we take that and we deduct what we call shared or fixed costs. Things like debt, things like insurance, health insurance is a big one. Pension, that type, things like that. And then we come up with what's left over, and then that gets shared 75% to the schools, 25% to the town departments. And that formula has, it's always, if you went back decades, it's been split kind of 75-25 for a long time. So it seems to work. So that's kind of the revenue side. The next slide, I think, goes into our challenges, right? Okay, so. I don't
Well,
have to-
just to say that the 2.5% by itself illustrates the challenge. Because we know that expenses are not going up less than 2.5%.
Right.
So that in and of itself, and as I think as Stephen walked you through this, there are very few kind of judgmental items that give you discretion. We're very much, constrained by what our opportunities are. And, that's why the 2.5 piece is so significant, because of the fact that, we are dependent on the property taxes of the homeowner. And the 2.5% by itself says that's the constraint.
Right. So these are some of the challenges.
Go ahead, Leo.
Oh, it's a quick question.
Yeah.
On the new growth,
Yeah, go back to that slide.
yeah, I'm just curious, does that new growth include reassessment of homes too, right? Because the 2.5% is based on what if your home value gets reassessed and it's higher? That's also extra growth, correct?
No. So the way the formula works is the limitation is on how much revenue the town can raise. So what happens is that they say that the town can raise 56 million, then they take that and take all the value of the assessed properties, $1 billion or whatever it is, and they just divide it into that revenue and they come up with a tax rate. So
Gotcha.
So, your assessed value could go, our tax rate's going down, but our assessed values are going up, but the overall the overall tax revenue is not going up more than the limitation of 2.5%.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of tricky how that works. It's confusing sometimes. Most people think that, oh, but my assessed value went up, so my taxes are going up. No, what usually happens is the tax rate goes down so that your net increases within this limitation, so,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So that 2.5% isn't specifically on
It's
your
not,
house,
right.
it's on a global number.
right,
Gotcha.
exactly. Yeah, it's for the whole town, yeah.
Gotcha.
That all comes
question.
from the state, right? Like, like the
2.5%.
2.5, yeah,
Yeah, prop 2.5.
that was
It's
like
a
100
lot.
years, that was like 40 years, like, are they ever talking about changing that to help towns or no?
Plus, it's come up recently.
Yeah,
Pay
it has
attention
come
to
up
state
recently,
legislature.
because as you can imagine, we're not the only town with this.
Of course,
problem.
right, so it's like,
Yeah, I think there's a recognition that, it's, it
Towns are
doesn't,
gonna-
it's kind of broken, it doesn't work. for a
Right.
lot
I
of
would say
towns.
locally as well, everyone's going for an override. There's not a lot of success stories locally as of
No.
recent, right? Like,
No, like, no,
so it's just all bad, like, you can't
Franklin,
get overrides.
Franklin
you
just
can't-
had this,
Franklin,
a second year in a row,
yeah,
their
yeah.
operating override failed, yeah.
Yeah, and building projects are actually starting to fail more too.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
around here, actually. Someplace I didn't expect it to. Dedham just failed one,
Southborough
Southborough, but yeah.
failed, yeah.
I just don't pay attention to state politics, so I didn't realize if there was like if they were like realizing that all the towns are busting at the seams and doing an override every year.
Yeah,
like,
they're,
just-
they're aware of that,
Well,
and there's a lot of pressure on local aid to not cut that and to increase it, and, this,
What's funny is county-based drives, things like county don't seem to be, they seem to be excluded from that, because you still have to pay for it. So if you have a school like the Aggie that you're paying for anything, you could vote it down, but you still have to pay it.
Well, the Prop 2.5
Yeah.
was a citizen's petition. So
Yeah.
it was on the ballot.
Cause it was like in the
Yeah,
eighties, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It was, maybe the late 70s.
Yeah.
In the late, but it was, so it's not just the legislature. that
Right.
do that. I think it's, they might need another.
But
I mean, there
override
was,
of
there was
citizens
basically a
petition
revolt
45
that you
years
could
ago.
imagine, because without that limitation, towns were kind of going.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
I understand like why it's
Yeah.
there, but it just seems like health insurance, like you said, goes up 17,
Yeah.
we're just in a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard rumors they're thinking of increasing it to 4% or, But
Oh,
those are just rumors, that would have to go through another whole
Yeah.
process, so.
But I was thinking like 2.75. Boy, like really ripping the Band-Aid off there.
Go on the website, the total past 2 years and all the towns that have where they failed.
Yeah,
The only one that I know currently that went through was Natick, and that was
Natick did pass.
It's a big one. The big
Yeah.
So they're the only ones that I can think of currently that.
Yeah.
Right, that passed.
so next slide, we'll go to I guess 2 slides, yeah, the challenge one. Yeah, so we talked about, you guys obviously know about the collective bargaining agreement, but state aid. We don't know what's gonna happen there, but, hopefully, it won't be bad news, but they're under pressure. Okay, now the capital needs, they're significant. I wanted to talk about this because, we talked about the $100 million in the 20-year plan and the 37 in the next 2 years that's been identified. Water and sewer, which is that's a separate business enterprise fund. It's not part of the general fund. But we pay for that through our water and sewer rates. But they've done a similar 20-year project of capital plan, and they've come up with $48 million in capital improvement projects
didn't they just get a new thing down behind you?
over, over a 20-year period. These are things that, and there's 17 million in the next 5 years. And so these are things that, affect, the water infiltration and there's a cast iron piping system in a lot of parts of the town. And it affects the sewage, the water that goes to the sewer plant and how that's processed. And so they're trying to get their hands on that, and they've got a number of projects. I don't know which ones they're gonna prioritize, but they've got some work to do. I know that the select board's gonna look at this on the building side, the 20-year plan, and try to prioritize those projects. We have the Dale Street elementary school, right? Which, you know, is gonna be a large, you know, borrowing for the town. So, you know, there's a lot of capital needs.
And what about, where does that fall into this? Because the money, so I guess my question would also be, spinning a little bit here, but so at town meeting, we appropriated money for them purely in modular, right? They went out to bid and the bids all came back high. Is that what happened there?
Yes,
And so now they have no modular?
that's correct.
And what is the next step with them?
I don't know, they're trying to figure that out.
Okay.
So,
But end goal for them would also be a permanent space, correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna get solved. But you can see there's probably more urgent type needs
Yeah,
than that one.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
right,
it
yeah.
keeps falling to the bottom of the
Right.
list. Schools and roofs and water
Water,
and
yeah.
sewer are gonna come first.
do you know what their bids came back at?
I think it was over $500,000.
Oh.
So it was a big miss,
What was the initial cost that they asked? I don't remember.
160 something.
160 or
Yeah,
something.
do you know where they got their number from?
I believe it was provided by the one of the modular companies that
And then that's it.
that actually provided the high bid, yes. Yeah,
I would think they.
Everything going up.
Yeah, yeah, in 2 days.
yeah,
Tariffs.
That's just to rent it.
Yeah, it was to rent it, right?
that was
Like
to
cancel.
rent it, yeah, for
Yeah,
1
$1
year,
million.
for 1 year.
Yeah,
They
Yeah,
still
that in-
build it.
That included that.
Something modular.
But the-
utility.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have a big part of it is the site prep work, right? They have to
Yeah.
put utilities in and all, that's a
Yeah.
big cost.
Site
So, so anyway, but I wanted to spend some time on this slide here because it's a little,
it looks positive.
it looks positive.
It has a positive spin.
Before we move to that side.
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
like for the other sort of opportunities, I guess, you know, like there's a conversation about the land at the old hospital, like I wonder, like, I know we're constrained some ways in raising revenue, but like, you know, I think businesses are charged the same, you know, tax rate that I think we pay on our houses,
Yeah.
like, you know, we do have land that we could sell. We have opportunities where people are coming in
Yeah.
and saying for basketball, and I would pay for the FAF center, like. Does warrant committee make some of those decisions, or is that all on the select board? Or
No.
would you give like your opinion and then they,
So let me sort of unpack, you got a lot in there,
Yeah.
so let me go one by one, so on the roll, we're advisory, all right?
Yeah.
We don't play an executive role like you do as a
Right.
committee or the select board.
yeah,
We're advisory, so that's
you
good
influence
influence.
that authority?
We influence without authority. We do have a recommendation at town meeting for everything.
Yeah.
So in that regard, the people pay attention to what we say,
Yes.
but, so we can't execute contracts. We can't make
Yes.
those types of decisions, right? That's the executive branch.
Yes.
We're the legislative branch, I guess, so. But I think in terms of land, right?
Mhm.
So we have a financial policy that's, and it's actually part of Mass General Law, that any proceeds from a sale of land can only be used for a 5-year capital type item. So you can't take proceeds from a sale of land and use it for in the operating budget.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, and so, that's why we've, in our goal to raise $5 million for the tax mitigation fund, we've taken that Hinckley South 450 and said that.
Yeah,
That's
that
gonna
goes
go
towards that.
right?
Okay,
Now there's, there was a small piece of land next to that Hinckley property that came up to town meeting
Yeah.
last year. And the goal was to use that towards this
Yep.
tax mitigation fund, and that got voted down. there's land up at the hospital that is already zoned. There's 3 parcels, right?
Yes,
There's the main campus. And hopefully that sale will happen, okay, in the next year or two. I'm not sure exactly when, but when that happens, there'll be a number of things that will come to the town. One is there'll be proceeds from the sale of that land. Which half of it has to be shared with the state, so there's some proceeds there.
Okay.
There'll also be $1 million payment that will come to the school department, which,
okay,
you know, again, the thinking there is that it probably should be used for one-time type purposes,
Yep.
like towards the school. And then, so that's the main campus. Then we'll also get some, those buildings will be on the revenue, property tax revenue, so we'll get some additional
Yeah.
revenue from that.
What are the?
Then there's the arboretum, that's land like right in front of it's where all the nice trees are when
Yeah,
you
yeah,
drive up. The plan on that is to not sell that until the main campus is developed, because they'll get more money for that.
got it.
And then the third piece is the part, the Hospital Hill
Yes,
parcel where they talked about the basketball. And those are the 3 pieces of land that there's a potential for the town to get money
Yeah.
to use towards some of these capital items, right? And so, now what was the other part of your question? I think, so you asked.
oh,
about-
the other one was still just like, I don't understand something, but I feel like there's something about how we tax businesses. in
Oh, right.
town. And
So-
if it's, some
yeah.
towns do a different rate.
Yeah,
for
so-
businesses versus-
So let me talk about that, because that's, a lot of times that's misunderstood. So the sub-towns do what they call a split tax rate.
Okay.
They'll have one tax rate for businesses and one
Yes.
tax rate for personal residences. And so the misperception is that's gonna raise revenue for the town. It doesn't.
Okay,
All it does is it shifts revenue. We still have to follow Prop 2.5,
okay,
which limits the total amount of property taxes the town can raise. Having a split tax rate just shifts. tax-
okay, so it's not really, wouldn't be an additional
It's
revenue.
not gonna raise revenue.
Okay,
But
And
it
the
lowers
other-
the cost to the community, right?
Is it-
The
yeah,
the homeowners, it
Well,
lowers the
it
cost.
it will affect the personal tax rate,
Yeah.
because you got 2 tax rates, so the
Right.
personal one will be lower than
lower,
commercial.
and we don't have that much business either, so. I
We
feel
have a
like-
5% commercial property in town.
Okay, so,
And every year, there's a law that says the select board has to have a hearing to answer this question of whether we need to have a split tax rate.
Yeah.
And they do that in December every
Okay.
year. And every year they look at it, yes, Yvonne, the assessor, comes before them and presents, and they reach the conclusion that
No.
it's not worth having a split tax rate. I think it was $70.
Yeah, it's very
To-
reasonable.
To impact to the average tax, and they want to encourage businesses.
yes, exactly,
We
like,
don't have a lot of business in town.
Right.
Does that answer that question?
yes, it
Okay.
does, thank you,
Okay.
sorry to derail for a minute.
Sorry, going back to the land sales,
Yeah.
so, when Trinity completes their deal and starts building, like, we're still a lot of years away from any sort of revenue coming from that project. So,
Right.
do we have projections on what that will be from an increase standpoint on revenue?
There has been, the town, does, Frank did this when he was here, Frank Gervasio. They do a 5-year forecast of revenue and expenditures. And I believe in the last one, they did incorporate, revenue from the state hospital. An estimate for that. So that's in that forecast that they have.
Okay.
You know, I think, you're right, that's, you know. I don't know when, I think it's like, at least a couple years away, and because there's a 2-year construction period too, so it doesn't fully kick in for 2 years after they start construction. It has to close first.
Yeah, I think you'll see in the forecast there that.
I think it's
The
20
first thing that comes in is like, it's permitting,
2029 maybe.
there's an individual permitting, but then there's, as Steve mentioned, there's a construction period.
Okay.
when the.
we do get some revenue, excuse me, during that
Right.
construction period.
Okay,
They do tax,
Tax
you know,
the property.
the property. But the permit, it's like $300,000.
Okay.
The building permit's a big permit. But again, that's one of these one-time, it's one of the significant one-time revenue items. We wouldn't want people to go hire, you know, a bunch of people with, you know. what
no,
I'm
I
saying?
think it's just important to understand the potential money coming in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, I think when the zoning proposal was put forward, and, you know, and then when the town approved the board to go forward, I think there was an estimate around $500,000 positive revenue flow to the town.
Yeah.
Net.
That was conservative.
That was net, and that, but that was an early number, so it's.
That was early, it was, what's probably 3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
so it's, they will, you know, hopefully refine that estimate every year, get better at that number,
Okay.
the closer we get to it.
And then looking at the Hospital Hill parcel, is there any sort of estimate on what that land is worth? I recognize that we would have to go out to bid, but there must be some semblance.
I
of
don't-
it's
I
worth
don't-
X amount
I
of
mean,
dollars.
The only estimate I have is it's like 12 acres,
Okay,
and how much does an acre of land go for Medfield? Maybe, say $450,000-500,000.
Yeah,
I don't know.
probably, yeah.
So it's not, I mean, it's a significant
Yeah.
number.
but we have to split that with the state. It's a significant number either way, but we do have to split that with the state, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and then on top of that, if we would be building some sort of commercial facility that would be bringing in extra revenue, but I
Yeah,
guess
so the
additional point,
commercial-
it's a smaller, because our commercial base is not big right
Right.
now,
Right,
we're in that.
But it
phase.
would still be money.
Correct, and there was also discussion, and again, I don't know how far they got of the developer they were talking to building something for Parks and Rec, which would then alleviate that potential down the road thing,
Right.
correct?
right, yeah, I mean, the warrant committee, talked about this, and we, as a committee, support the study of that proposal.
Okay,
Okay.
There's a lot of details to be worked
Right.
out, and, you know, we don't know what those details will be, but the concept of leveraging land that's zoned for development, that's
Yeah.
owned by the town, and leveraging that financial gain to, particularly in this case where it seems almost too good to be true, we have some developer that wants to pay us market value for the land
Yeah.
and then build us a building.
right,
So it's like a big win for the town
Yes. Yeah.
financially. But as you saw at that meeting, there's some opposition from neighbors and other people.
Yeah,
But,
I guess
and this
that's
is a good example, just to say, that this is a good example of kind of the role of the warrant committee,
yeah,
right? And the role of, we don't have a constituency,
right,
we have the town that is brought to us, we don't.
Right.
We don't initiate, we review what's initiated by yourselves and by the select board. So my personal comment is, it's important as these issues are discussed and the communication is made, that a constituency needs to be built so that, you know, the priority of the 800 students who use a basketball facility versus some of the other aesthetics, et cetera, not to minimize, but to have that open conversation.
Exactly.
And I think that was what happened with, so the select board, as my understanding is, you know, at least the majority of the select board wanted to go forward, but the response from the town said, we need to step back and have dialogue, you know, towards that. I think their objective is to have it brought forward next year.
I believe that tonight's meeting, they're actually voting to form a group to
Okay.
study it
okay,
and to move
Okay,
that
that's-
forward.
positive.
Yeah,
So those are obviously really big parcels of land. Is there anything that we don't know about that also could be of land value to sell?
the town owns a lot, the town owns big parcels of land, but they're all locked up in conservation
Right.
restrictions.
Yeah, there's a
Right.
lot of
I mean,
land that.
What
They're,
about the FAFSA?
they're not,
Nice house.
I mean, they're not available. to
Can't
be
use
developed.
that. And
You know, the one,
You build a
I think the
super-
one piece of property that was voted on at the town meeting to do the environmental work up at the laundry, because that'd be a piece of property.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's
there's a
big.
smaller piece of property
That's overlooked. At the
close
top
to
of
the
hill.
overlook that,
Okay,
that,
okay.
And they feel so that might, once the environmental issues are cleared, that might be a spot that would be attractive for.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Yeah,
restaurant.
I forgot about
something like
that, yeah.
But you have to just look for every little opportunity.
You know where that trailer with the person playing the violin is? It's right next to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when you go down
It's-
into
it's not
the
that big of a
on the
problem.
right-hand side, over the last 2 years, it's been,
Gotcha.
it was roped off.
Yeah,
But, and I'm never a big fan of towns selling land, just because it's always one-time money. Like, it's better to build up recurring revenue if you can out of it. So the question is there options to lease that property as opposed to selling it? Lease the land and or set up, so that person was gonna build a dome on it, or whatever they were gonna build on it. But you don't sell it to them, you lease it to them and they pay a tax rate that is agreed upon.
that's, I mean, kind of like, it depends who you lease it to. Like, if you lease it to Belforge, that's a not-for-profit.
Right.
You're not getting any revenue.
No, but no, we're gonna lease it to but that Hospital Hill site that the person wanted to purchase, instead of purchasing it, lease it to them.
You could do that, yeah.
Kingsbury, I mean,
Kingsbury is a lease, yeah. Kingsbury is a lease.
And they
That's a
pay
lo-
us.
that's a long-term lease.
What happens when that?
And they do get tax revenue,
Right,
you know,
Post office at least too.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there is,
I mean, those are opportunities, I think, without having to shell out the one-time dollars, you
Yeah.
know.
But those are things that would be studied and negotiated, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a concept at this point. There's no details behind it. It's
Right.
like,
I just think when we have the conversation about a potential override. Down the road, like these things become more important,
Right.
like at some point make a decision and move forward.
I think one of the things that always, as a resident, that always struck me was. We're gonna pay for this, in 5 years from now, you're gonna see this, as long as you keep following the plan, in 10 years now, you're gonna see this. Because we're talking about Dale Street right now, but the Wheelock's gonna need an investment.
Yeah.
Of some sort, even if it's same footprint, but it's gonna need a refresh, right? You're gonna need.
yeah,
It's gonna be a $10 million refresh to refresh the classrooms and the fixtures and the HVAC and everything else that needs to be done. That's gonna be another something to pay for, and then, but preparing people now so that strategic plan. For the whole town-wide feasibility, if you will. I think something that we probably could have used a while back, but.
yeah. That's kind of a good segue to this
Yeah.
slide here. I think, I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on this. This is the delicate balance of what Leo just talked about, having this plan to tackle big capital projects, right? Managing that capital investment and your existing borrowings, right? We have a policy in the town that says our debt service for borrowings in the general fund should be between 10 and 12% of revenue, right? We don't want to overburden
Yeah.
different generations with different, borrowing costs. And so the blue mountain there is our existing debt service, and you can see it peaked back in like 2016, when the public safety building came on.
Yeah.
And it actually went above the orange line that goes out to the right is the 10% limitation. So it went above that, and it's slowly come down over time. So you could see, it's projected based on what we project revenues to be and where we project the payoff of existing debt. It's projected to be 2.4% of general revenues by FY 30. So that leaves you with like a $6.2 million, at least. It could be more if you go above 10%, but it's at least $6.2 million. And if we didn't do anything, and we just let time go by, we would lose that ability, because every year our taxes are going down for exempt debt. Right, it's a reduction in taxes every year. if we don't reinvest it, it's a lost opportunity, right? So it's important to have a plan to constantly, looking at this and making sure that we don't get to that FY30 period with a big gap and without making investments, right? We know we have hundreds of millions of dollars of needs. The schools is Dale Street is one big one, but you could, if you had, say, $5.5 million of debt service for the school, there'd be room to do a roof on Blake too, so there's, that's what this illustrates. There's room within our policy to, we don't just have to say, we have to focus on one thing at a time. We can sort of manage it so that we're trying to tackle multiple projects at once. And trying to not lose this opportunity to invest while the debt is low. So,
I think it's.
we had a, not to dwell on the prior school vote, but we had a chance to lock in a 2.25% interest
Yes.
rate. And
Yeah.
rates now are, between 4.5% and 5%, so it's,
Yeah, the amount of money that it's costing the town is just
yeah,
enormous.
yeah,
If we, have the benefit of hindsight, but.
yeah.
But I think, it's important too, because as elected people, that the concept of, this is a financial opportunity in terms of stability
Right.
and how we manage. But there are people who celebrate the reduction in the tax rate. And so I think, the term opportunity is an opportunity within our financial capabilities to manage capital projects, to manage the strategic discussion that we're having here without having some enormous consequences if it's properly communicated. But, when someone looks at this, they'll say, well, man, it's an opportunity to spend money, but we need to be able to communicate why it's important to spend that money.
And I think that goes right into, like you said, right into the planning part, right? Case in point, the FAF's been falling down since long before I moved in. We've known that something had been done about it, but it hasn't been part of the conversation. Dale Street, same thing. There was deferred maintenance on all the buildings. And we've done some action like the $1 million, every year. That was great. And we did the same thing with starting to put money aside for Dale Street. I think that's also great, great pieces. But in order to communicate, the actual plan so that they can see Wheelock is on that. It's in the plan, right? And we know it's in the plan. Just sometimes we have to follow the plan to the T, we can't, right? Because maybe the cost of steel is to the roof, for whatever, we all know why it's to the roof,
Yeah.
right? So, but in order to be able to communicate that we have a plan, right now, it feels like we wait for it to break and then we act. But it's always pretty visually from the outside looking at it, looks reactionary.
Yeah.
Instead of proactive. So, and the staff is a case in point, which is now just adding extra stress to the school infrastructure as well.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah,
we're
no,
fine,
well said. I certainly agree with those comments. I think, the last thing I'll just point out is, I think you brought up the Prop 2.5 operating override. I mean, I think it's really important that that if the town decides that they want to pursue studying that it started with some really foundational, detailed forecasts. And it had more than what we do now. There has to be really good, one of the things I'm thinking of asking is that they do a 2-year budget this coming year, looking at the next 2 years. That we get departments to sort of think beyond 1 year. And because right now the forecast is just kind of escalating, with standard escalation amount, but we have to, and it has to be transparent. We have to have an open dialogue around this. It has to be transparent. You know, we have to have a consistent message. You've got to be prepared for all opposition and address people's concerns. There's gonna be media attention around it. We've got to mobilize people. There's strategic considerations too on how it fits in with our financial policies and stuff like that. So it's not something that should be undertaken lightly. It's a serious matter that takes time to bring people together. The last time we did it was in 2018, right? So you have a very clear message on what's it for, what's the purpose of it, educate people on it, and make sure it's transparent, that everybody can see the numbers, that everybody can see, and, because I mean, there's always opposition to taxes, right? So there'll be opposition.
Well, I think as part of that, but include a townwide feasibility study, right? So that we are prepared, for whatever that is, new FAB center, the Wheelock School, roof, on, and what those plans are, so that it's not just a panic because we can't make operating budget this year. This was expected, we need this revenue now to fulfill this. And we're projecting out, because I guess if we're communicating those projections, and we're, like you said, I love the idea of two-year budget planning. But communicating all those compounded items together and spend the money on that planning, hire someone to do the feasibility study. Don't have our in-house folks go around and price things out, hire someone to do that feasibility study. And then you're saying per our plan that's presented, and market it, like you said, like 2018, market that out so that even if it's not voted on at town meeting, it's presented at town meeting, and then do direct mailers of those items, make marketing a part of that.
I think our moderator might have a problem with presenting something that's not an article, so.
But the
Fair
plan,
enough.
the plan has to be, to Steve's point, I believe the plan is such that it's realistic, but there's decision points that people have to make. The reality is we have to put things in a perspective that says, we have to define the town in a fiscally responsible way as well, okay? What level of school do you want? I mean, the building committee is gonna have to look at, are we renovating, are we tearing down and building? Those are big decisions.
That's
That-
it.
that-
The
that
cost
didn't-
though, on
it-
that, like, you're saying that those cost two different things. They do cost two different things, but tearing it down is actually cheaper.
No, I'm not trying to get into that
Yeah.
conversation. What I'm saying is that there are so many decision points. I mean, how many policemen do we want? I mean, how many ambulances? These are all
Yeah.
decisions that people are gonna have to make along the way. I mean, that article in the Globe, I think people have seen it, there's regional expenditures, those kinds of things. These are the kinds of things that we're confronted with right now.
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
it's not just gonna be a committee of 6 to say, this is what we gotta do, and
Right.
you know better than I, that people don't just march that.
successful efforts, you have to convince people that you've done everything possible to control costs before asking for more money.
Yeah.
And
you
invite
gotta
the
make that
question, and
argument.
invite the questions so that you can, you
Yeah.
learn from it too, right? We all learn from that.
Looking back at the overrides, it's amazing how many overrides this town has passed. You look back at it, 95, 96, 99, 2004, 2005, 2007, 2008, 2009, 3 years in a row. 2012, and then the 2000 FY19 one we were talking about. It's a lot of overrides for one community,
Yeah,
and they're all operation overrides.
and it's been 8 years, so
Yeah.
that's a fairly long time. Our tax rate has been very well controlled. Our property taxes, people complain about it, but relative to other towns, we've done a good job controlling their property taxes, so. So it's, we're not gonna solve this now, but I just wanted to throw that out there because people talk about overrides like it's an easy process. It's a hard process. Yeah. Yeah. What else did we not cover that you guys?
Steve, can I just try to just say what this like means to me in my work, because I like, but so when you say you're lost investment capital, that, you were just saying you're losing the opportunity to invest that because you're paying down the debt,
Right,
right? That's what that means.
right.
And then the bottom, like, if we get all the way to 2030, we didn't borrow anymore, if we're servicing our debt at 10%, in 2030, it's only 2.4, so we could just whack it, and we'd be debt free. Or am I missing that last
Yeah,
part?
actually, I do,
You know what I'm saying, like.
so actually, I do have a handout. I forgot to give it to you guys. This is our actual debt. That's the cost of the debt. This is I'm sorry, this is the debt service.
Yeah,
And you'll see, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, now they.
No, they're going that way.
One more.
So it's about, in 2025 it was 2.3 million. And you can see by 2036, so in 10 years' time, our debt is completely paid off in the general fund. The exempt debt, actually, all debt in the general fund. If we don't take on any new debt, it's completely paid off in 10 years, by 2036. Okay,
Okay, so that makes more, okay, so this is.
yeah, that chart only goes out to 2030.
Yeah, yeah,
But this one gives you the numbers out to 2036. It's so it's and we intentionally do, we've never done a 30-year borrowing. We've always done 20 years or less. And we do what they call a method called level principal, where you pay a certain amount of principal off every year, which pays down the debt quicker
Faster.
and saves you on interest. It gives you more capacity to do other projects, right? Because you're paying it off quicker.
What would be a reason that a town would not do that?
Cost.
It costs
It
more to
costs
do
more.
it that way?
Yeah, it's in the early years, it's cost more. Yeah. Over 20, 30 years, you save,
Yeah,
but
you save money.
but those first 5 years are.
you're taking so much you're taking the principal you agreed upon plus the interest on the
Yeah,
big number.
Yeah, it's higher cost, whereas a level debt like mortgage payment is spread even.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the premise there is that, if in our policy, if we agree that we can support debt service at
At
10%,
Yeah,
then this is the level of borrowing. The level of borrowing that we could do in any one of those years to stay at 10%.
Right, and then we can-
Now, it's not encouraging anybody to borrow, but
It's
it
a-
is saying realistically,
there's a big,
let's look at the cost of a roof.
It's the
Can we
level,
absorb that?
it's not the level of borrowing, it's the level of debt service.
Well, I know, but I
Yeah.
mean, the cut level of borrowing feeds into the.
Right,
service.
right, yeah,
Right.
yeah, so right, so that's the concept behind this chart, is like, it could be more than 6.2 if we use a 12% number, but we're using 10 to be conservative, but it's basically saying that, because as we all know, deferred projects just end up costing.
Well, that's.
And
that was gonna be
they
my
usually-
follow-up to this. I
mean, if you-
Great that we only borrowed for 20 years, but if it stopped us from doing another project, it just cost us more than that.
Yeah, and it's usually smaller.
Right, and I'll use Dale Street because it's fresh and I have the numbers memorized,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna cost us an extra $24 million, right? Because we voted it down.
Yeah,
So overall, we're gonna end up losing based on that. But I hear you, this is one of the levels of setting the stage for the community to understand about preparation.
yeah, and to not just focus on one project,
Right.
that's not
Right.
gonna be done for 4 years. We're not gonna borrow that money for 4 years.
Right.
We have all this time in between, we could be sort of addressing other things, so.
Sure, I mean, and that makes sense, and I think, but having all those other things on the table, so it doesn't look like, well, they just asked for more.
Yeah.
They
yeah,
just got that, but
Yeah.
having it clearly
I think we talked
Hey,
about
all the
that for a
capital.
minute, like before you got here too, Leo, because Steve mentioned that there's
I
$38 million in schools and like basically half of that's roofs and then half of it's
Yeah.
all, like maybe all the things you're talking about at Wheelock.
And I think it's just telling people about it, like, how do we present it as a united front, right?
Yeah.
As a
Well,
united
it's
team.
also a discussion, because again, the premise is that the town of Medfield, with its formula, and with its makeup, can afford to carry debt service at 10%. You know, and that's a supportable number, right? And if somebody comes in and argues, well, actually, it should be 5% or.
Well, we've done it, we've
Right.
done over
Yeah.
10%.
I mean, that was, you know, but. the
What do
point
other
I'm saying
towns
is-
carry?
Sorry?
That's a typical policy for most towns,
10%.
10 to 12.
And what's our policy?
10 to 12.
10 to 12. Oh,
Yeah, and you don't wanna be above that for any length, you know, you might go above it for a year or two, but you wanna manage it down, yeah. So. But,
We move on to school fees, with the final financial.
oh yeah, school fees, yeah, so I didn't know what you wanted to talk about school fees, I just put on the slide, some examples of things that I knew about that other towns charge. In the area of school fees. And I think a lot of these you've studied, you've looked at, and, have
well, we
done-
do some of these.
we do them already.
Some of them, yeah.
And, I think, you know, the policy I put there it's in our financial policies. It talks about the town will consider the use of service charges as a means of financing services not equitably supported through the existing tax structure. And the example there is a transfer station fee. Not everybody, uses the transfer station, but, and so there's the example, you know, and it says that the town will look at charges related to these services. And we don't wanna make them profit centers, but we don't wanna make them, we don't wanna
Right.
lose money on them,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
An example of that is the transfer station, they looked at the cost and they decided they needed to raise those fees, so. I don't know if that's been done with your activity fees or your athletic fees, or I don't know, but something you might wanna consider looking at the costs
Yeah,
related.
we had to raise athletic fees was it last year, people. did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so any venue that's outside of the district, so
Yeah.
that rent space, we've raised those fees for hockey, golf, swimming, diving, that kind of thing. So if they're not having their activity here, we have to rent out someplace that costs more.
Yeah.
So we've done that increase. You know, we ended up collecting 325,000 athletic fees this year.
Good.
Which, pays for almost pays for the entire department as we go forward,
Well, that's great.
Preschool was 222. Kindergarten, which would be slowly going down, was 371. School rental was 140. So we ended up getting over $1 million in fees this year. I know we've talked about technology fees, we've talked about transportation fees and that kind of thing, so. Definitely areas. we
Technology
looked at.
fee, you do through, if they break it, they buy it, right?
Yeah.
So,
We just started doing that recently, the last few years, so once it became more widespread with one-to-one.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's the policy if you.
well, if they break
Yeah.
it, they pay for the repair.
That makes sense, yeah.
But we can't charge well,
You could charge.
You could charge for the-
For everyone.
someone could push back on it though.
Yeah.
They definitely could.
Yeah, someone could call us.
And that was the impetus of going to Chromebooks, because the practice here was charging parents for iPad in middle school. Just became the ones, I know, would ask people for that level of support, or $700 device, and
Yeah,
Chromebook is a fraction of that.
and you get into the argument of, is that educational?
Sure.
Is that needed for education? I don't think you can charge, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's the pushback we would get.
Yeah,
That was our shift to Chromebooks instead of iPhone.
yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to add for fees?
I look at this, kind of like that quote you said there, Steve, of like, the people who use the transfer station are charged more, and it was think it was anime, but it was someone when I was watching a meeting right before I got elected, that was like. Here for, I don't even remember, let's call it transportation fees, because I know Jeff's mentioned a bunch of times, that's been on there for 10 years or whatever. But so I think there is something to the people using the school paying more. We are if we say the school is a business, we need more money, right? We need more every year, we don't have enough, so. My idea is that we jack all of these fees. Whatever, like, I'm not here for school choice. But like parking's not even on here, and I'm just like. I know I have to be more delicate than I'm being, but like, we don't have enough money. We do not have a lot of opportunities to make money. And like the one that's not up there, and I'd have to ask like Michael or Jeff the number, but like the parking fee, I know is significant more in other districts. And like, as a business, if those spots fill up, we could charge $5,000 a year for them if they fill up, and why wouldn't we? But like, so I'm just coming at it from this mindset, we need more money, so. If the supply demand, like, we can charge more, so I want to go through these, I don't know if. You guys want to be here and but like, I mean, I wanna go through these and see how much we can push them and see if we can turn it into. 2 more mental health professionals in our school and 160 grand, and that's what I wanna say about fees. Like the first part of, the people using the school are paying more. And then like what the hockey people came in and said, like the amount of money, so it sounds like athletics might be okay, but the amount of money we all pay for club sports and stuff, when we get to high school, it's a break, and that's great. But like, it's a break and we have one less teacher, like maybe, so
I agree.
my whole point on fees, and I'm coming, like, totally acknowledge. I'm coming from a privileged place, but like, look around at how much we're buying houses for in this town, like. That's my point with fees, I think we can push them higher and find. 100, I did the numbers when we talked about this on. I don't even know, it might have been last year or whatever, but there's 100 grand there, and there might be more depending on how piggy we get with the fees, and until people. Until people don't pay them, and again, it's weird with schools, right, cause we have 10% of our kids on free, like, people that can't pay them, don't pay them, right? But people here who can pay them, I think we should jack the fees up, to grab more teachers. So that's what I wanna say about that, like, we can get more into detail, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's all tonight or if it's in the next years, but I would be happy to look at this. And I did it somewhere, but I don't have it with me, I had to grab Rory's backpack today, like, if we jacked all these things 50%. The bus fees I remember getting into, and it was a little bit, it's a little more wonky, cause we move kids so much, so like, we'd have to pay someone to sit there to figure it out, and then we lose 50 grand off the top, so like, that's a little messier, but like. Again, I'm just gonna, what's the parking fee right now?
We raised $30,000 a year on that,
Okay, so like,
so 180,
$180 a car, so like, this is my. Point, and this might be too, but like, if we charge $1,000, 1,800 to make it easy, right? 10x everything, right? We'd make 300 grand, and I'm not convinced we wouldn't sell all those spots. So that's my point on fees, and I don't know where the line really is, but there's a price. So that's what I want to say about fees, and I'm happy to explore it, and happy for people to come yell at me, but if those spots fill and we go from 30 to.
Mailbox fee, I think that having the mail picked up at the house, we should charge a fee for that to every house.
So the only thing.
That doesn't help the schools, does it?
It's indirect
Mail?
mail town. It's
Oh, yeah,
How
sure,
many
the
people,
town
how
has-
many households in town?
So Will, there are restrictions on how you spend certain.
Where you could spend it on.
Right, and that I knew,
Parking
the athletic one, I learned the transportation was muddier, because we'd have to move so much, but athletic, like, has to stay in athletic, like. So what,
So the parking, spend to upgrade the parking lot.
yeah, so,
Snow removal,
Still a line item though, our snow removal probably costs,
that's what we use it for.
Yeah.
right,
yeah.
but like.
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
the
so.
question would be does
so-
it cover
You
it?
don't get snow.
Well,
So-
in theory,
so
yeah.
What about technology fee? Are those limited to technology?
Yes.
But
Are
you
there
said
any
that you
fees
have
we
to
collect
use it
that
for-
we can just put towards the budget, or no?
If we use it,
Well, I mean, school rental, you can offset costs.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
see, and that's funny, because that's the one like I don't wanna kill people on, because people need a cheap space in the school. So maybe this is all like
I
not
would
gonna
say-
work, cause it's.
I'm with Will, but I would jack school rental right up. I used to pay for tons of stuff
I feel like the groups that use that, well, I don't know, I'd have to look more
The
into it,
groups that
but
Oh,
use
they're
it, though,
rich,
are-
those groups. What are you talking about?
But
I don't know which ones we're talking about.
I don't think you can, I don't feel comfortable with a flat, like, let's just raise everything. I think probably each one would need to be discussed.
Sure,
Like who it hurts, who it helps, right? Because although I do agree to some point that if you're using the schools, you should pay more, and I think we already do, because there are fees associated with all these things. But I also think you live in this town, your kids aren't in school anymore, but you're gonna benefit because you're gonna sell your house for more you paid for it 15 years ago. So like, you're still getting a benefit
sure.
of living here in some ways. Like, it's not just you only, you're only benefiting from the schools if your kids go here.
Yeah.
Like, I would make the case like,
Your property.
if your property.
No, I totally get it. I just, we need more money and I just want, I asked Michelle to put it on to kind of make that statement.
We're talking about
Well, we're a
homeowners.
cost center.
We're talking about homeowners with that. There are people in this town that don't own that.
Yes,
Oh.
I agree. I think Will and I would as well, we're coming from, there's a percentage of people who you would put in the privilege, right? That you're like, you're paying more for club sports than you end up doing at the high school.
Right.
And the only way you're gonna play in high school, is you probably did club sports, so your parents can afford it, but I think we just have to like look at each
Yeah,
one.
but I gotta talk to Michael and see what we can use the fees for. Like, I don't care if our parking lots are repaved. I care if we have another teacher, so.
There, like, I'd love the preschool tuition. It's like, but the problem is like, we could have had a bigger scale school already, and then you could have more room to have a preschool. Right, but that would have been a benefit, but now we're going back to like, let's minimize space, so it's like some of these revenue options are closed down to us.
So, I would say, yeah, we could put a policy in place around school buildings, what we charge, which kinds of groups. But that's a policy that was put into my school district that
We
I've
have
had it implement.
We have one.
Yeah,
You
so
said
like,
it was 140 in school rentals, but
140,000.
that is made, yeah, that's what I thought.
But it's like, do we wanna be charging more for like Medfield youth basketball to like use the gyms?
No, I don't. I wanna be charging people. Yeah, no, I said, I mean, my parking fees is my best example, but it might not work. Like,
Yeah.
I wanna charge people that can afford it. To
Yes,
get as
I-
much money, get more money out of them so that our kids can have more teachers.
Millionaire tax for Medfield, yeah.
that's right.
I think,
Only one that I think, we'll talk about it. Kindergarten.
Yeah.
Is we can pay for 50% of expenses within that building.
so I think the thing,
Which, so,
the beauty of the workshop, because the last, 2 years, we ended up talking a lot about mobile phones, and then we ended up being able to be in a space to have some actionable items, right? So it does sound like this is another space that there's room for exploration.
Yes.
So I think we're not gonna solve the problem right now, the same way we didn't solve the mobile phone problem last summer, right? Like, but I think this is a space that we could do more.
I'll go hang out with Michael and
Thank
talk
you.
about it.
What?
Bring it back
You
to
can
us.
move on,
Bring it
yeah,
back
well.
to us.
I'll come too.
Okay.
There you go, Diana and Will. Sophia?
No, I felt like at the beginning, you had commented something about a cost that a parent can pay in fees. Did I hear that correctly earlier?
Jeff
today?
is talking about, what he's talking about was the cost of the Medfield experience.
Yeah, so-
What if
so
I-
we have-
But it goes into,
Cause I
like,
do,
how much
like,
more do we wanna
I don't
charge?
feel like I know, cause so much of this is more high school related. I feel like I don't even know what a breakdown is of all.
So I would say middle and high school gets real expensive.
Yeah, I think that would be
So what
helpful
we
to just
would, what
physically
we've been
see.
gathering data on is the cost of the Medfield experience, in addition to, what you normally pay on your taxes, right? So we've gone
Field
from
trips.
6th grade to 12th grade, and we've gotten all the data, we're going through it right now, we're gonna present that to the school committee
Okay, great.
in August or September. But the anecdote of the data point that I shared was that we took a girl who played 3 sports for 4 years at Medfield High School. And the total additional cost to playing 3 sports for 4 years was $16,000, and that was the team dinners, that was buying a sweatshirt every year, getting the backpack, doing all that kind of stuff, right?
I know, I'm being rude, but that's what we pay a year.
I agree, yeah.
So I feel like looking at that data is important, but I also like, maybe you don't need the backpack, or you don't need, like, right?
That's
It's
what
like-
But the cost
So
of the
that's what the
backpack is
meeting
not gonna
was.
cut down to 16
So the-
grand.
the sports-
Well, but you're saying all the
All
team
the
dinners,
sweatshirts.
all the sweatshirts, those are nice to have, those aren't nice to have.
But that was what
That's
the,
part of the
at the
experience.
sports
Experience.
meet,
That
the
is
sports
part
meeting
of the
this
experience.
couple weeks ago, that was the message, like, these are nice to have, but let's think about before we just do all this. Before we have a team dinner, when it used to be, a plate of pasta, now mom and dad are catering. like, oh no, it's catering now.
Yeah.
So it's like
Getting here.
those kinds of things that people keep ramping it up, and that brings more and more costs associated with playing the sport. So the message was from high school administration, like, let's take a look at this and let's stop. You know, this is a little out of control,
Yeah.
and let's, try to temper it a little bit. So I think was the message for the fall sports. But I think it's still happening. I mean, we still see increases and.
And I think in that same space, I mean, I would guess that all five of us would support an additional, counselor or teacher if we could find the
Sure.
funds, right? So like,
Yes.
I think exploring opportunities, which was part of the impetus for bringing the warrant committee here, was to like, can we look holistically at the whole town and understand where's the secret money tree?
Yeah. If you find it, let me know.
Well, that's a good segue for me.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank
So-
We're raising
Look
fees on
forward to-
pencils.
Look forward to getting your budget, Michael, and.
And if you guys ever have any questions, you can see how easy it is to talk to Steve and Bob. They're more than happy.
Yeah,
to give
yeah,
information.
shoot me an
So,
email or.
Thank you guys so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Okay, thank you.
What do you think, Mike? Two-year budget next year?
Start now.
That's right. We could do it.
All right, we're gonna move on to our next topic, which was a goals review. So looking at that, we have our goals review from last year. We went over our goals in October. We aligned them with the strategic plan. So priority number one, under safety, belonging, and well-being, was to review and approve updated school start times based on the recommendation from the school start times task force. Feel it.
We have new start times. We are good.
So goal completed.
Yes.
Community engagement and communication, maintain focus on improving engagement with the Medfield community and promote mutual understanding of the issues important to community members and the role and work of the school committee. To achieve this goal, the committee will officially attend open house and pin nights at the beginning of the school year with members present at the school committee table at each school's event. Ongoing support and individual member attendance of at least 2 PTO meetings for each school and CPAC. Each member will attend at least 5 school-related events during the year. So in this space, the place that we added was we removed the informal conversations to us attending open house and pin nights. Do we have thoughts in general on communication, and if these things go well, do we want to do them again? What are our thoughts?
Go ahead, Elsa.
I think being at the pin nights, although it's hard for us, because it's another night of our lives. I think it is good, the informal conversations were not well attended in the previous year, like we'd have 1 or 0 attendees. At pin night, we're there, people talk to us, and sometimes you're catching up with friends, but we're there, and there were definitely questions, and I think it definitely helps to have some sort of handouts, which we had. Was it the school building? We had like 2 things we were handing out.
Yeah.
I think that helped a lot, but I thought that was a much better use of our time than the informal conversation. Sorry.
No, I would say the same thing. I think it's
Okay.
worth being at the open houses and pin nights, even if it's just for representation and people just see us there, even if we don't get a ton of questions.
Okay, so we'll do the same thing we did for this coming year. I think I sent out like an email with the pin nights, and then we kind of gave our availability, and we were able to do assignments in
Yep.
that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cause I think we originally wanted to try to align it with the schools that we were assigned to, and the timing just didn't work with people's schedules.
Like,
Yeah.
you go to the committees.
Yeah,
for
and
it?
I don't think,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Right, I
agree.
feel like
don't think
based
it
on
needs
the
either.
questions you're getting, like,
Yeah. So in that space as well, sorry, where did the page go? So supporting the PTOs and CPAC, how do we feel like that went? We're partnering with our PTOs and CPAC. MCPE was in there as well.
I think that's really good too. I did not get to mine, like just schedule and stuff as much this year as I did CPAC last year, but like, I think that's a good thing. that
I
we
think,
did.
I think it's worth putting in there and then people do their best to go. Cause I do
Right.
think, again, it shows.
So same thing, and I think actually in that space, I think probably the most important thing you can do is just send like an informal email at the beginning of the year, introducing yourself, just so they understand they have that connection in that
Yeah.
space. Do we want to stick with what we were at or change? I had Dale, you took over Tim for Wheelock, right? You were Memorial, you were,
I did some CPAC.
I was middle
did
school, I think they all kind of took, like, we were, now our kids are both there, but
CPE, yeah.
I
I'm
was trying to
happy.
do high school, but the high school PTO doesn't meet.
Meetings morning
Meeting times is hard, they're in the
Yeah.
mornings
Okay.
and cancel a lot.
Okay,
Leah, do you care, do you wanna pick one? Wait, so sorry, are we,
we can assign ourselves now, yeah.
I was mean, do you wanna pick middle school or CPAC and I'll do the
I'm
other?
gonna do high school.
Oh.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
wanna
okay.
Stick with high school? Were you high school this year?
I can take one of them.
I might have been,
I mean, I
but-
only have kids, I don't care.
All right, Leo's.
I have a high schooler now, so that's fine.
Sophia, I'm gonna give you Wheelock.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Because you're already going, you're loving it.
I'm running it anyway.
I'll talk to myself about it.
That's great. Hello, look at me.
I think that we should focus on. Wow.
Visibility, more than anything, like just,
So sorry, you're gonna stick with high school. What was your preference?
I don't care. I'll do CPAC if you wanna do middle school.
Fine.
Okay.
I still hop into CPAC when I can. I sign up for all this stuff.
I do too, yeah,
Yeah.
but you can take CPAC and
Sure.
I can take like, right?
And then you're at
like,
Memorial?
school.
Or you're at Dale?
I'm at Dale,
Okay.
so we probably need someone from
I
Memorial.
could take Memorial too, I mean,
I think that they just meet
You like,
during the day. That's my
you like the
problem.
littles.
I love the littles, they're my
I said they're
people,
happy.
like,
All right, so Diana, I have Memorial, Wheelock, Sophia, I'll stick with Dale. You're Blake?
no, I'm Blake,
You're
he's
Blake,
taking
sorry.
CPAC, which I
Got
actually
it,
think
okay.
CPAC's a bigger
Okay,
than the
fair.
PTOs, cause I just feel like they
Oh,
actually need
yes.
more, like, I actually,
And I'll stick with MCPE.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Um,
You wanna
is
read
that
that?
everything? Are there any other groups we like?
so MMA was always the other one
MMA.
that Tim threw around, but we never did anything
Which one?
with them. The
MMA.
Medfield Music Association, you wanna add them to the
Try
mix?
that one.
You wanna do that one?
Sure.
All right, Leo. MMA,
MMA.
Leo. Okay,
There's something else, right? Ah,
okay.
No,
Um,
I just. Share that. No.
so we also, let's see, sorry, too many tabs open. What is that?
I mean, so I just-
Each member will attend at least 5 school-related events during the year, assuming we all were able to do that to some extent. And then I also had on here, we had been, making sure we have representation at Dr. Marsden's advisories, and that was similar in the email I sent out, we just kind of
yes,
mapped
I
our,
do feel like we didn't do a good job for you, Michelle, on that.
but you had.
Okay,
representation.
I feel like.
Meeting.
you know,
I went. I
Okay,
was-
good, okay, good, cause I
Yeah.
feel like I had,
No, I know.
I ended up
Yeah,
being out of
don't
town,
worry.
for like,
Yeah.
right, so I feel like I failed.
No,
I think
I-
notifications, like when you, meeting invites, like when those things happen, I think for the board,
Okay,
for the entire committee, it's good to just have on our.
I agree, that would
would
be helpful
say-
for me, even then it's like on,
Centralized calendars is something that just awareness factor, like every Sunday, and I review my calendar for the week. That's a reminder for me.
Yeah.
So
I'm still gonna do the 2 assignments though, cause that's how we make.
that's
sure we
totally
have
yeah, I
coverage.
think so too.
yeah, but that's fine, but it may be like this,
I'm sorry, 2 assignments. Sorry, can you clarify?
So for Dr. Marsden's advisories, we sent out an email at the beginning of last year with all the dates and people sent back to me like their availability for those dates. And then I tried to make sure I spread the
Right.
wealth in regards to where to
Gotcha.
attend.
Yeah.
But I always had 2 school committee members assigned.
Okay,
So in the event someone ends up in London and they didn't know they were gonna be there when they said they,
yeah.
I mean, just as an example.
Hypothetically.
Then the other
I
person
just-
should still be there.
But I will say with that, well, I'm going back to work, right? So I
Yeah.
can't cover the daytime as much.
Right, we have some
Uh,
more limited.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I don't know, like, how much, like, there was times I spoke, but like, I don't know if that's something we need to do. And Jeff, I don't know if you care if we're there, like, I don't know, the coffees would be something that I'd be okay taking off.
I think
Unless,
more of it is,
Yeah.
if we have something to
think it's
communicate, that's when we speak, otherwise we should just be listening.
Yeah,
Right,
I
'cause
think.
that's-
yeah,
no,
that's what it,
It's the
that's-
same concept as the informal conversation, right? Without putting it out there, like it's another space for us to be able to hear. Not just,
People are asking.
yeah, what the people are asking, what concerns they have and.
I think some of the data collection that we're gonna wanna do this year, because we breezed over number 1, like it was done,
Mhm.
but it's not done, because we have metrics by which to measure the success by. And so, and I think that that is something, while we're at those things, we may wanna listen to, so I think we're gonna hear about. The change is hard, and we're gonna hear about the change in September and October.
for
So-
school start times?
So you're gonna hear, because people are shifting their.
I
their
understand, but
schedules,
like,
so.
it takes like 2 years or 3 years for people to get comfortable with it, so I do think we should
Ah.
hear, but like.
I think that, I mean, this will be done in 3 months.
Well, no, that's
but
my
I think,
point,
yeah.
if we made a,
Yeah.
that's my point, I'm saying you listen, like, if you were to be like, oh, people don't like it 'cause it's October, like,
No,
you
no, no.
actually need a
You
period.
just
of
need to
time
be there to listen.
Yeah,
That makes people feel better when they get their complaint out their chest to you.
It's fair, it's fair. I told Michelle, she was there, it's true. So,
What?
like, when they're at the advisories and they say something, so
Oh.
like, it is, it's like, well, Leo was there, you heard it, like.
I guess, sure, I just, like, I won't, like, you don't, they're all during the day, right?
Is there any flexibility for like, maybe, I think the advisories are important in person, but if if the idea is to have someone from the school committee also just listening, like that we could zoom in.
Oh, yeah.
Cause like I can easily, I mean, unless.
Do you
like,
let
there's a
people,
flight.
no, I think the point of those, oh,
No,
wait,
no,
I-
no, I'm saying for we can.
So I
zoom
used to
in
do,
here.
I've done it like a million different ways, right? So I've done it where I had them all during the day. I've had some where I had alternated day, night. I've had them where I've done during the day and night on the same day. And there would be more than one night where it's just me sitting there with a bunch of.
yeah, I
kids.
think night people.
Night just didn't work out.
Yeah, that makes
And,
sense.
you know, to your point, well, another night out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if I had 25 people there at night, I'd do it every night. But I just never got it.
Yeah, no, I
I
think.
never got the attend, I got way more attendance during the morning than I did at night.
I mean, I can zoom in and listen
Yeah,
if during the day. I can't physically come, but I can.
Yeah, no,
I
I
can
don't
block my
think that's the
calendar.
ask. I think I mean. I don't think.
I, yeah, I didn't know if the value was there for us to be there with
I think the
three of
value
you now splitting
value's
it
there.
with your jobs.
Right,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
is there. I like the potential zoom in option though as well.
I mean, sometimes I'd like
Yes,
to, I wish it
yes,
was an option.
yeah,
I don't, like I said, it.
All right,
Crises.
so then we also invited the site council to be able to present to us when they come at the beginning of the year. And then from a social media standpoint, everything has continued to trend up with our Friday posts. Just crush it compared to, no one looks at our meeting updates. But they love seeing all those kids. We can also now post on the website, which we could do last year as well, but I think that's also helped become a more common place where people can look. So in that space, I have not been as consistent posting on Twitter, and I kind of just want to sunset the whole thing, but wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
I would
Okay,
like to-
no, we're on Skillshare, right?
Yes,
Yes, so when that post goes, we just, whoever's doing the posting,
yeah,
like, can we just train her to use the social, attach the school committee socials to that, so that just goes
we
to
already
all
do
of them?
that.
It's already,
But
it's
it
already.
doesn't always work, and you have to go in and hand do it sometimes,
I don't know.
and I don't love Twitter, so.
I,
Sorry.
would be fine
No,
if we voted to get up to it.
Oh, it's great.
Vote to, yeah, Twitter.
I-
Yeah, I really-
That's fine, we can,
I do think,
This is a formal meeting, right? We could vote it right off Twitter right
I'm
now.
just saying I'm sunsetting it if anyone objects, like,
yeah, no, I think that's good.
Just don't pick up Truth Social and look at.
okay. Do we have any, so I feel like we just kind of went through some of the communication strategies we've been working on. Do we have anything we want to add, or I guess we kind of talked about changing. Do we have anything we want to add, or do we feel like we're in a good spot? What are our general thoughts in that space?
I think we're in a good spot.
yeah, and I also think what's the new software called?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Fair.
Yeah, I think that's gonna
I
be.
mean, I think that
That is. I think-
covers, I mean, we are out there.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did get one email after the last meeting about, actually, no, it's probably because of the task force. But when I said, if anyone wants to talk about technology and phones, call me, email me. I got one email, but I think that was because we put my name out via the
No,
other.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So the, so the parent square is going up for the September launch. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think finding the, make sure that adoption is there, so it does work for us.
Yeah, well, I
I've
mean,
seen
we're,
it not work.
yeah, I mean, we've onboarded the teachers before they left, and then parents will start getting it in August, a couple of times in August. And we're gonna have tables set up at our pins, just to
It
those people on board, get on there, that kind of thing.
Track in the teacher usage, I think is just gonna be huge. I've just seen it just not work, so parents weren't downloading it, that's part of the issue. So
Yeah.
Joe, parents download.
So then, priority 3 was around collaborate with the superintendent to establish a mobile tech task force, including key priorities, scope, and desired outcome. Below is the initial scope. Impact of cell phone, social media on well-being of students, impact of cell phones and social media on teaching and learning, support and education for families, and a potential recommendation for policy or handbook changes. So to me, this feels ongoing, not complete, so maybe this is a goal that continues for
I
next
do not
year.
think it's close to complete.
Okay, so we'll continue that as a goal for next year then.
Yeah, and I think even how that is bulleted, well, like the task force, we did a couple updates, but it's 4 groups, right? And it's kind of hitting these, but yeah, we're still, we're in the beginning stages of that. I think the task force did some good stuff, and there's some, the wait till 8th pledge is out there if you want to sign it.
Sure is.
Step
I
one.
think that, I mean, I think that this,
Yeah, except,
go on.
well, sorry, but while we're talking on the way for eighth, it does a data collection, which. It tries to collect your data when you clicked on that link. I meant to send an email to everyone, like,
Oh,
the messaging is fine, on way to eighth. It started at a group out in Texas. So, but they're asking you for your name and email address and your
If
student.
everyone in this town waits till 8th grade, they can have all my data.
I think this.
I'm
so-
just not advisable, that's all. So it's fine to push the messaging, I just would not push to sign up on the site, that's all.
If we sign up on the site, which this ship has sailed for my family, so, do we get to see, not we,
No.
like whoever?
They're just collecting.
Oh,
Wait,
so
what's
like,
your question?
I wanted to see like, so if we're signing up on there, is there a way for like you guys on the task force to go in and be like, oh, 150 people from
Yes.
Medfield
Yeah,
signed
yeah.
up?
Oh, really?
Oh, so there
Yeah,
is, 'cause that's,
every time, as
'cause
soon as
that's the
you're
point of
grade.
it, I was like, if we didn't have access to it, then it would be
No,
stupid.
no, as soon as you're grade, it's 10 people in the grade
Yeah.
who sign it.
Yeah.
You get a message, and
Oh.
it even says those people's names, so you have a bit of like a community there and can.
Got it.
like, we-
So in a
it's
way,
not
it's-
everyone
So
has.
it's a
The
parent,
way it is,
parent, the
yeah,
parent,
so the
Yeah.
way it's collecting data though is being used to share with your own community.
yeah,
Yeah,
Community,
and to
okay.
feed them.
You know all
Oh,
the.
yes, and to
You
feed
know
them.
all, yeah, I know. You know everyone in your grade who signed the pledge.
Oh, that's amazing.
It would be nice to have like trackers for grade level, like thermometers. visible.
Yeah, I don't know how often, once you're in,
right now it's second, third, fourth and sixth grade.
yeah,
Have
do you
10.
know though, if when a new, as soon as you get to 10, they shoot you a note
You have,
and
like,
it
a
says the
total number?
people, but
I
if
don't
like.
get it, they did that.
I mean, as a grip or greater community. to be able to
Yeah,
see,
I'd
not
have-
as a
I'd have
kid,
to
but you know what I
look.
mean?
That's
Oh, no, but
something
this
for the
is, and
task
to be
force.
like clear, the wait till 8th thing is not the school, right?
Yes,
There's some
yes,
parents
yep,
that did it and I'm a willing participant, so I can speak to it a little bit. But, I don't know, but I almost wanna say that every time someone signs up, they might ping me, but definitely when you hit that. The first number, I can try and see, but anyway, sorry, so. But it was, yeah, it was, are you getting a ticker as it goes up? Sorry, that was the
Saying
original
as a
question.
For
community.
each, yeah, like that's my
It
point.
would
Can we
be
see as a community, oh,
Interesting to see.
because I mean, at the end of the day, there's no, you could sign in, you can do whatever you want, but at least it gives us the directionally if people are
Yeah.
buying into it or not. Like I think this task force is important. I think there's probably like based on what you guys have updated, there's a lot more to do. I think the impact piece is important, just to get it out there. I think all of us as individuals can research the own impact on cell phone usage.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more on like the maybe support and education for families and the recommendations for policy or handbook changes. That's what
We have
schools
groups doing that.
can
Yeah,
actually,
that's
yeah,
right, that's kind
but
of.
that,
cool.
but that's what the school can actually control.
I
Like
feel
we
like-
can give
So maybe
people
we can
I feel
information.
like the bulleted list you have here should be the 4 groups that
Yeah,
are working.
we can reword these goals for next year,
Okay.
and
But-
we'll leave this as ongoing.
Yeah, but I do think that one almost should play, in my opinion, an even larger, like that's a goal we actually have control over.
Right.
Like how much we research, like, but what are we actually doing in the schools on day to day that's making a change?
And don't be surprised if by the time we start school in August, there's a new law in the state about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
It's
might
moving
happen
super
too.
fast.
And
I
it's-
also
yeah.
think one of the things that and I don't know if this is being talked about or not, but I think for the recommendations for policy or handbook changes, I would love to see, what are we asking teachers to change as well? And I say that because like, I have teachers potentially, or not potentially, I know, they're showing TikTok videos in class to my child. So like, at what point do we say like, hey, like, even as an educator, maybe you don't show these type of videos, because if you're showing a 7th grader, what does my 7th grader want to do when they come home? Also look at those TikTok videos, right? And I'm not saying it's pervasive, but is there something in, like, if we think about what is the student policy gonna be, what is the educator's policy, the ask as well?
Well, I think that's a
It
bigger
would have to
question.
apply to everybody.
Yeah.
Whatever we do for policy around this, would have to apply to everybody.
Yeah, that's like,
Too.
that, oh, yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
you are, so that's my point,
Yeah.
because I feel like we're so focused on the student, which I think is obviously, but I think there has to be something said for the people that our kids are seeing every day and how they're showing up and using.
Yeah, yeah. I would just say, if a teacher throws a TikTok on, like, that might go a long way to like building, I don't wanna like.
No, and that was,
Like,
that
I
might,
just-
that might not be the perfect example, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I think they should be mindful of like how. It's the same as us, right? If you just sat on your phone all day while you're eating dinner, your kids are gonna be like, well, why can't I use my phone
Sure.
at dinner? So I'm not making it, I'm probably not articulating it correctly, but I just wanna make sure we're also looking at
Yeah, I guess,
both sides of the coin.
yeah, I'd just say like, I think it's okay for the students to have different rules than teachers.
Oh, I think so too. I'm not saying like the teachers should put their phone in like,
Agreed.
but I'm
Right,
saying, and
right.
I think there's a difference if you're making an educational reason to be showing TikTok. I think it's different when you're like, hey, you wanna see the TikToks I make of my puppy?
Or that's
Or
helping
that's
build
building
relationships with
community, yeah.
kids and that
Right.
helps. coach them.
Yes, like in, again, maybe not articulating it correctly, but I just saying, I think.
You're
there
saying that
should
that should also be part of the conversation.
Just
Like, I
to
think
make
that,
sure,
like,
and
how
just
much
that.
technology is used and how
Yeah,
should be
that's
part of
fair.
the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
Like,
It-
that's, you know.
Yeah, that is what my
Which is-
point is, like, just not to forget that group.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
and without putting like, but yeah, we're probably a year out, like hopefully by next spring. Cause it's hard to do anything mid-year anyway, I think, but I think it would be a good goal if we redo these bullets by the groups, like the policy team and the parental education, I think will be more ongoing next year, and hopefully we can hook up some of the Medfield talks with those things, right? And then policy would probably like next year at this time, maybe we'll have another like big step for the school.
Or the state might
Or
just tell
let-
us.
Or the
Yeah,
state will
let's
just tell us what to do
exactly,
next week.
yeah.
and that'll
Which
be-
I almost
Check
would
it
love
out.
it if.
Yeah, yeah,
the
well,
minutes
yeah.
of it, cause I think that's just like. Well,
So-
no, or it's like.
Well,
is
I'm gonna
what we
say,
do.
good, yeah, good luck. I'm gonna say that as much as I am a proponent of the phone piece, I think. If we wanna get ahead of something, we should really look at media literacy as part of a curricular push, to your point around TikTok. TikTok has nothing to do with the phone, so
Right,
that has to do with media
Yeah.
and understanding media literacy,
That's
which is a
really-
huge
We
initiative.
put that in health and wellness, they talk about the algorithms and all that in the middle school, because kids don't know there's all those algorithms that are doing.
And and then, media, just the entire media awareness, like across the curriculum.
Yes.
Which is what the department is investing in currently, from what I understand, which is going to be announced. And they've put some money behind it, I'm not sure if it was federal dollars, but, around media literacy right this second. So in the world of AI, being able to train students on how to use it impactfully, and how to judge how it's being used, and training our teachers on how to do that. I think that is. There is a whole fear factor, but I'm sure Jeff has already heard as well. And there's more coming out around with that. The one thing about AI is that. It doesn't need a screen to actually operate, so. Taking these away is great, because I do think these are a distraction, but we do give them a Chromebook.
yes, they can do
Right,
the
so,
same thing.
so they could get the TikTok videos, chat with each other and
Yeah.
everything else, so, and I think. So as much as continuing this holistically, scaffolding it with these other things, because in this space, it does.
Yeah.
We do list curriculum and instruction in here as well, so.
So we'll do that, this is ongoing, I'll partner with you in regards to getting the names of the groups, so we can get better, stronger things for next year's goal. So moving on to number 4, we had, finance, facilities and personnel, advancement of Dale Street project, including participation in a joint meeting with the SBC, the select board and school committee. Focusing on communicating progress, obtaining community input and advancing the project. I mean, I think we were able to do that once, like well over a year and a half ago. I think that it, logistically is a little bit more challenging than I think we had originally hoped when we threw it out there. I don't know what our thoughts are in regards to maybe just generally supporting the Dale Street project and figuring out other ways to help propel the project in a positive way forward, right? Like, so, open to thoughts on that, or we can revisit that as a whole, but I don't think that was, quite, completed the way that we had originally intended to be.
Do you think we need that?
I mean, I think part of it was, the original impetus behind it was, showing the community that the 3 groups were working
Mhm.
together towards the
Right,
project.
I agree with that, the reason, but I'm saying, do you feel like it's needed now, or there are other,
I
like,
think it's gonna be needed from now till the end. I
Okay.
think logistically trying to get it, I think the vision is great. I think logistically getting it to work is not, and I question, I guess, in hindsight, the reach.
So how do you show that without, like, what are other ways to show that then?
Or just other ways to support the Dale Street project.
Yeah, so the other ways to show the support of it, yeah.
we talk about it at every one of our meetings.
We do, that's true.
So it's an agenda item for someone to give an update, which I
Yeah.
think shows, we care about it and
Yeah.
What's
we're
the,
discussing.
what's the outcome? we
SBC.
Yeah.
What's the outcome we were looking to achieve? Just scaffolding the support of the project.
Yeah, and a united front from those 3
Yeah.
groups, right?
I think it's hard too until we know what we're being, like,
What the ask is.
the ask is, right? It passed at town meeting to do
Yeah.
the feasibility, so I think it gets closer when we actually have to know when there's a vote on it, what we're voting on. I think it's easier to say, here's what we need,
Well,
to
perhaps,
do.
perhaps it'll be more engaged. I was late because I was interviewing OPMs for our project, which
Right.
is why I was late. And my understanding is when I did our walkthrough a couple weeks ago, that people are already looking at the Dale Street project because they were sitting in on the meeting that I couldn't attend.
Okay.
And told me the next day that I walked through that they were attending. And they thought they had said that they was it spoken about that they were gonna be on the October selection?
Maybe.
Maybe, so. I bring that up only because that particular. One of the charges of the owner's project manager is to help with communication.
Right.
And help facilitate that strategically. So keeping that as a goal, you know, and maybe work with how to, you know, hit our target markets, because. And aligning them with what the communication subcommittee is doing,
Yeah,
you know, might be helpful.
yeah. So anyway, we can rework that one a little bit. So then collaborate with the warrant committee, administration and community creative to obtain town approval for an acceptable budget. I think we were able to do that. I think we had a really positive conversation this evening with the chairs of the warrant committee and just gaining a deeper understanding of some of the challenges that they face that we also will face potentially in upcoming years. So yeah, any thoughts on the goals from last year? Additional thoughts? Or I can plow through the last item and get us out of here by 8. No? Yes? Okay.
I'm good with.
All right, so the last one, is, share responsibilities and overview. So I asked to add, to have us on here. So coming up on my first year as chair and kind of what I observed as vice chair is that there's a few tasks that fall under the chair umbrella, and I don't feel they're necessarily chair specific. So my thought was I could share these tasks, and if anyone had any interest in partnering on them or kind of taking them on, or if it's just something you're interested in kind of being more involved with, I can include this portion of the tasks in the email I send out when we do PIN open house update and advisory availability. And then if it's something that you're interested in, you can just get back to me on it and we can figure it out there. So the Aspen email that gets sent out, it's pretty much a template, but I update it before it goes to Andrea. So if anybody's interested in doing that, the budget mailer has a message that comes from the school committee. So if anybody's interested in that, the town report has a report that's from the school committee. So if anybody's interested in that. While I did personally enjoy speaking at graduation, I don't feel like it necessarily needs to be me. If you have you've always wanted to speak at graduation, or if you have a, you know, something specific for that class, like a relationship with them and you want to speak, I feel like that's something that could be a different school committee member, a financial partner to attend some of the warrant committee meetings when we get closer to that space of the budget. We could have 2 people there if we wanted to. I'll send it to you. When I send it
Okay.
out. Yeah, no. I meet with the students at the beginning of the year, and I email Brenda throughout the year to kind of just make sure they've got information. So if anybody was interested in kind of like being a liaison to the students or Brenda, that's something that I think we could partner on. And not, again, share specific, but if anyone wants to be involved with like the social media piece, I think that's something as well that I can throw on the list. So
Or no.
just
no,
wanted
no,
to share those
no.
thoughts.
Assistant principal.
You did a great job selling them.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You don't want us to feel bad that you don't include us.
So wait, so I had to ask, so you communicate with the assistant principal on a regular basis?
I send her an email with the agenda and I double check that all of the students coming are the names, and if anyone has any questions or any topics that I think we might want to hear from them on. So like cell phones was something like halfway through the year, I was like, hey,
So when those 4
FYI,
kids come.
we might ask them tonight, just kind of like what their thought on cell phones. I knew they had taken their survey and we kind of just.
A lot of,
wanted to see what
a
they
lot of
did.
that is agenda related, and since the agenda also falls under you, I feel like that would be hard for someone to take over anything that's directly related to the agenda.
But the student piece,
Student, anything else that's the matter.
I literally just sent the agenda after. Anyway,
No,
Um,
No, I think it's being serious.
Oh, I will try to take some of those things off.
Yeah, no,
your
I actually
plate,
just wanna see the
including
list.
Anything with the students, I'd be down for.
I think I'm willing to, if you don't want something on your list,
Yeah.
then I'm happy. Like,
She doesn't want any of those things on her list.
No,
She just read them.
What are you
I made the list for a
He
reason.
feels, no, I think you feel guilty because you doesn't want to be holding those back and keep.
well,
bringing
and
them
also,
up.
and I feel like on this
And-
list too, I think that there,
I
I know, on a high level, there was maybe a sense of like, people wanted to get a little more involved, and this was a way to, you know, share the wealth a little, if people wanted to be a little bit more involved, so these are some items that could do.
Good too. We don't have to like so the signing of the warrant, like, cause I'm going back to work, just,
Yeah.
I just wanted to like say that tonight, cause I like. When I got it, I was like, how come we can't do this online? And then I was able to do it in person. I think they're like, I am happy to do it if I talk to Maureen and Michael and we figure something out, but I just wanna name that while we're here, that like I won't be there on Tuesdays at
Yeah,
9
but-
a.m.
Well,
That's
for
on-
me, with the delayed start to the new start time, I would be able to go first thing in the morning and sign them now. If
Good,
need
you can
be.
do
We can talk as well, though, because sometimes it's helpful to have the new person do it, so they can kind of get the view of how things are made, right? Like, or how things are done.
I felt like
Sure.
it was very convenient, like just sometimes.
That's what they
it's helpful
told
to
me,
have-
too.
Yeah, that seems to be great. I can't wait to tell the new person that too.
It is one of the primary.
I can only do it on Fridays.
If you, even if you have taken charting the course, it is one of the primary items is the budget.
I mean,
Yeah.
charting the course was
We just
it
had
was
this,
fabulous.
lovely meeting about the budget. You know, I mean, we could ask for budget to actuals on a regular basis, but, you know, to have any more interest.
Yeah,
No, but Michelle says those things.
Okay,
I can do that.
all right.
I don't know about the writing.
Anyway, our next meeting will be August 21st. I hope everyone enjoys the month of July, which we're officially gonna be.
When is
in
August
the
11th?
recess. August 21st. It's a Thursday, would be my guess.
It is.
And we'd like to do it before school starts. We don't
We
like to do it on
usually
the
do.
28th.
We have in the past moved it if we needed to. It usually comes up, now or in the middle of the summer.
I'm just throwing it out there because maybe if people are all committed to being here for August 28th, because our kids go back to school.
We usually
What is?
struggle with that, yeah.
The what?
Senior cruise.
Oh, got it.
Do you guys have to go to that?
I do.
You can't give a nice speech and say like, these are some things that I still leave if someone else to take.
Yeah.
They
You
count
can't
on you.
But that's the 28th, that's why we can't do it.
That's just. yeah.
Just because I'm just saying, like, I know I missed last year,
Yeah.
because I go on, like,
Trying to be on vacation.
I potentially take a vacation. I actually know I take a vacation that week, so like, if it's.
Does it have to be before school and does it have to be on a Thursday?
It does not have to be on a Thursday. We usually do it before school because life gets so
Just,
crazy.
yeah, I just, like, could it be a different day that week?
Yeah, Monday, the 25th.
Or-
Tuesday, the 26th.
And if all of you think
School
that's a
starts the
great day,
27th,
then
I wanna
like,
do
you
it
still
the
have
night before
work,
school.
so it's fine.
I'm back that week.
Would you want the?
If we're trying to name it, I'd say let's do the 26th, the latest.
I would rather do the
Yeah,
week of
so-
school because
I don't wanna do the 26th of
The night before the first day of school.
You gotta get
We can do
your
Monday the
outfit.
25th.
25th then?
You don't have a nice dinner for your kids and get them all ready?
Yeah.
Ah,
I'm like, please go back to school.
25th then?
25th.
I mean, anything, sorry, I'm of the opinion, anything's, the next week is better than the 21st.
Okay.
So 25th,
That's Tanya's first day of school, so I will come out. I don't want to hear
That's our
the
first day of
complaints,
school
so
here.
I'll
Our
be
teacher
here.
is.
Right.
it'll be my first day of school in 2 years.
Yeah.
But the kids aren't there yet. So yeah,
Monday.
All good.
All right, so we'll move that to the 25th.
thank you.
Great, 6 o'clock here.
Yes.
Just buy yourself 3 more days. Congrats, guys.
Next day, yeah. 26.
All right, anything else or motion to adjourn?
Oh,
8 o'clock exactly.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job, guys. Thanks for everything. I know, do what I can.